But let's bring you back to the U.S. and to our local gangster, Donald Trump. He's not even president yet, and he's already spending his time sitting in his golden palace, Mar-a-Lago, muscling other countries like he's Tony Soprano with a social media site. Doing things like, reportedly, debating whether or not to invade Mexico. Threatening BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with 100% tariffs if they don't commit to trading in dollars and not their own currencies. Demanding Hamas release all hostages being held in Gaza before his inauguration, or there will be, quote, all hell to pay in the Middle East.
For many years, I was saying not one of the 72 vaccines mandated for children has ever been safety tested in pre-licensing placebo-controlled trials, not one. Tony Fauci was saying he's lying. In 2016, President Trump appointed me to run a vaccine safety commission. And he ordered Fauci and Collins to meet with me with White House counsel, present. And I said to Fauci at that meeting, you say I'm lying. For 8 years, you've been saying I'm lying about this. Show me this study. And he said, I don't have it here. It's back in Bethesda. And I'll send it to you. I never got it.
Pete Hegseth is a strong choice for the Secretary of Defense, and I'm pretty sure President Trump can get this choice approved, because boy, do we need a man like Peter Hegseth as a part of President Trump's team to make America great again. Now, Pete is a former Army National Guard officer and a conservative commentator on Fox News. You know, he's a longtime Trump ally. He's been nominated by President Trump for the Secretary of Defense. This choice is seen as both bold and strategic. It reflects Trump's intent to reshape the U.S. military and its policies. Now, Hegseth's military experience, unwavering support for America First policies, and advocacy for military reforms make him a compelling candidate for the role. Peter has an extensive service history, bringing credibility to his nomination. The man served several tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Guantanamo Bay.
Is there any recourse there on the state level to potentially try to rectify the problem you just outlined?
In North Carolina is a state that has been gerrymandered by Republicans for quite a while. So there's not any, you can't look to our legislature to do anything. It's a gerrymandered legislature. The best hope we have in North Carolina is our courts. We just elected Democrat Allison Riggs by just over 600 votes back to the court. It's a 2-5 court. We've got to win Supreme Court races in North Carolina over the next 2 election cycles before we can get a court back that's going to do fair maps for our state. That's our hope in North Carolina. But nationally, you know, Congress with a simple majority in the House and Senate can end partisan gerrymandering once and for all, you know, and finally put this issue to rest. But it's the thing that's wrecking Congress. Least productive Congress in our nation's history. People should be upset, and they ought to point their finger at gerrymandering.
I was stunned that some of the backlash she got were from black elected male officials saying they didn't want to support a woman. And I hear these people talking about black men that are pulling away from your campaign, though I've not seen any real evidence of that.
His first-hand understanding of the military operations and combat environments equips him to make informed decisions about defense strategies. Now, this is a recognition for his service. He was awarded for the Combat Infantryman's Badge and 2 Bronze Stars for his bravery and leadership in combat. These honors showcase dedication and effectiveness on the battlefield. Now, he also has advocates for veteran support. You know, we all need veteran support, and we need support of veterans. It's just part of the truth. As the leader of organizations like Concerned Veterans for America, Hegseth pushed for innovative solutions to veterans' healthcare. Privatization of VA healthcare is the example here. He supported enabling veterans to access private healthcare services, aiming to reduce wait times, improve care quality, to make sure people that have served us and making America great again and given us our freedom actually have a good life after their service in the military. The advocacy group demonstrates its commitment to supporting those who have served the nation. Hegseth's ideological alignment with Trump's America's First vision is a key strength. He's focused on meritocracy and excellence. In his book, he criticized the influence of diversity and inclusion initiatives in the military. He argued for a return to merit-based promotions and accountability. He views this approach as essential for maintaining a lethal and efficient force to make sure our military is top dog across all the nations like, let's say, Russia, North Korea, and China. Because we got to think, Is our military as good as these countries that we're competing with? Is our military good enough to go to war with them? Is our military good enough to survive them? I'm not really sure, but we gotta find out. Support for military readiness. He is also consistently advocating for strengthening the U.S. military to counter global threats, such as China's growing military power. Utility career military officials for bureaucrats, and Hegseth offers an outside perspective. He's breaking with tradition. Previous defense secretaries have often been retired generals or high-ranking officials. He appointed generals and seen signals a shift towards leadership that emphasizes a bold, unconventional thinking.
Yeah. No, look, some of you have accused me of being a traitor to my country, a Russian asset, a Trojan horse, or a useful idiot, I think was the term that you used. Which basically means that I'm naive or lack intelligence to know what's going on.
They use that.
I want to let your viewers know exactly who I am.
All right.
Set the record straight. I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color, and I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all Americans in this country. It was the attacks on 9/11.
I guess we're getting a little bit far ahead of ourselves, but Franklin Graham finds you refreshing. He doesn't find me refreshing.
He has a strong connection with the public. Through his years as a Fox News host, Hegseth has also built a strong rapport with conservative audiences, giving him the ability to rally public support for defense initiatives. He also has a commitment to addressing cultural issues. Hegseth has been vocal about his views.
Well, I have a 17-year-old trans son, and he came out when he was like 12 or 13, and it's been a long process, but he's doing really well, and I just want to keep my right to privacy and parental freedom in terms of making choices that are best for him.
So has your son undergone any kind of hormonal or surgical interventions?
He did have to wait a long time. He went to therapy and all of that, and saw doctors and all that, and he just started that a year ago.
So he decided yes or no?
Yes, he has.
Okay, wow. And what age did that begin?
16.
On the military's involving culture, criticism of DEI initiatives, he believes that diversity, equity, and inclusion policies have distracted from the military's core mission of warfighting. He aims to refocus the military in combat readiness and operational efficiency. Advocacy for ethical leadership as well. Yet by emphasizing trust and accountability among senior leaders, Hegseth seeks to rebuild confidence in the military hierarchy. I do believe that Peter can actually get nominated and chosen to be part of the Secretary of Defense. Hopefully he can make America great again, but he also has a strong international policy stance as well. Now, China and global security, he has warned us about China's ambitions for global domination and emphasized the importance of preparing the U.S. military to counter this challenge.
Debates from George Washington forward to indicate that any one of them would not have done exactly what Joe Biden did in pardoning his son for nonviolent crimes committed under the influence of alcohol and heavily addictive drugs, including heroin. Donald Trump has nominated another former heroin addict to his cabinet, Robert Kennedy Jr. If you ask the friends and family members of the two wives of Robert Kennedy Jr. while he was a heroin addict, they might find what Robert Kennedy Jr. did while he was a heroin addict was much worse than anything Hunter Biden ever did. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s second wife was driven to suicide, in the view of many of the people closest to her in the final year of her life, by Robert Kennedy.
Here's the reason why we need to care about this stuff, Nicole, is that we have some big picture stuff coming down the pike starting on January 21st. Mr. Bloomberg mentioned H5N1. That I'm really worried about. It's all over wild birds on the western part of the United States and going up in the north. It's getting into the poultry. We're seeing sporadic human cases, no human-to-human transmission yet, but that could happen. It's in the cattle, it's in the milk, and that's just the beginning. We have another major coronavirus likely brewing in Asia. We've had SARS in 2009. 2002, SARS-2, COVID-19 in 2019. And we know these viruses are jumping from bats to people thousands of times a year. But there's still more. We know that we have a big problem with mosquito-transmitted viruses all along the Gulf Coast, where I am here in Texas. So we're expecting dengue and possibly Zika virus coming back.
He has a Middle East strategy that will bring us peace in Israel and stop the war in Gaza and Palestine. And he will also has decisive leadership for a challenging time. He previously lobbied for pardons of military personnel that's convicted of war crimes. He really believes that there's a second chance for those who serve. And I might agree with this as well. While controversial, this shows his willingness to stand firm on his convictions. He wants to rebuild trust in the military by advocating for reforms to return to traditional values. He aims to address declining recruitment rates and morale within armed forces. He wants to overcome this criticism. Despite facing criticism for the lack of high-level Pentagon experience, Hegseth supporters argue that his fresh perspective, his young age, his experience already in the field, and passion is actually going to outweigh these concerns.
What concerns have you had about speaking out?
That I'm gonna be murdered. One day I'm gonna be walking down the street and somebody's gonna come up and shoot me or something.
That's a really scary thing to be worrying about at 10 years old.
Yeah, that should not be a worry.
Michelle, what's going through your mind as you hear your daughter say this?
It's just hard to hear her say that. And she asked me three questions after she heard who won the election. Are we gonna have to move? Are they gonna take me away from you?
Now that Trump has won, you say that you don't think cable news will ever truly cover him honestly again. Why?
Well, not even just cable news, no network. Nobody, because they didn't do it before, so why would they do it now? They're scared to death.
What
He's the
about
president
us?
of the United States
What
of
about
America.
us? Have you watched The View? Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Sonny, I saw you have to apologize a couple times last week, so somebody's coming with some notes from downstairs.
I'm not apologizing.
Okay.
I'm making a legal note as an attorney of law.
Because you know we have a petty president, our incoming,
yes,
that is going to be very litigious.
Who is litigious, but that doesn't mean that's not a mistake.
We check ourselves.
He's a citizen soldier. He has strategic appointments. He's with seasoned advisors, and he has a supportive administration with President Trump. He can navigate the role and complexities easily. But so far, his nomination for Secretary of Defense represents a significant shift in U.S. defense leadership. His military service, advocacy for reforms in alignment with America First policies make him a very strong candidate to lead in the Department of Defense during a pivotal time like 2025, where people in Israel, people in Ukraine, people in China are going crazy. And don't forget, people in America can actually have freedom still.